Hey guys. My apartment's very empty right now. I am moving in 8 days just to another apartment, like literally in the same complex. Gonna have a roommate, which I'm very excited for. Um, it has been a month and a couple days, a month and 3 days since I graduated from MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, for y'all who are unaware. Um, I just wanted to kind of like take some time, mostly for myself, to just like reflect on what my college experience was like. I guess I'm just going to talk about like the classes I took, how I did in each of them, how I felt about them, what I liked, what I didn't like, clubs I was in, my sorority, education outside of school, internships, all that jazz. This might be a long video. Probably. I was kind of busy in college. I'm just super excited for it because I love school and I love talking about school. So let's get started. I finished high school in 3 years. So because I graduated early, I didn't get to take a ton of dual enrollment and AP classes. My freshman year of high school, I took AP Human Geography. I think I got a 3 on that, which is like passing. So I got college credit for that, which is good because that counted for like a general education class. Then I took AP Psychology. I think I got a 4 maybe. So again, that counts for college credit. So I didn't have to take like intro to psychology or anything. I also did 2 dual enrollment classes through MTSU. So I did English composition and expository writing and argumentative writing. I have it all written down here, like all the classes I took. So I did those. During COVID. Ooh, and I did also take more AP classes in high school. I also took AP US Government. And I took the first semester of AP US History, but I switched schools and I didn't end up taking the AP test for that. And then AP US Government was during COVID, so I didn't take the AP test for that either. I really should have, because I probably could have passed it, but it's whatever. It's in the past. The past is in the past, as Elsa says. So those are the 4 classes I came into college with. That's 12 credit hours. So basically like a semester worth of classes. Yeah, that's 12 credit hours is full time. So yeah. So my first semester like actually enrolled like as a freshman. Well, I guess I was technically enrolled for dual enrollment, but my first semester as like a full-time college student, I took 16 credit hours. So that's like 4 normal classes and then a science with a lab, because the science classes are 4 credit hours. So I am just going to talk about each class that I took. So I took English 2020, which is themes in literature and culture. And then all of these classes will have like a topic that they do. It kind of changes like each semester. So I think one of them, like the one I had, was Busted, the Art of Literary Scandal. But I think some other semesters it's been like children's books or like Harry Potter or dystopian young adult fiction, or like they'll just have like specific themes. So this class, it was an honor section, so it was like a smaller class. I think there were maybe like 20 of us, which I love small classes, because if I'm confused, I get to ask questions without bothering an entire lecture hall, which I will do, but I'd rather not, just for their sake. For my sake, I mean, I'm here to learn, so if I got a question, I'm going to ask a question. So that was a good class. There, unfortunately, was a group project involved, which it's not that I don't like working in groups. I just don't like working in groups when one person doesn't do any of their work and doesn't show up for the final presentation. There were 3 of us. The other girl in the group was good, but then there was one girl that was just like, oof. So didn't really enjoy that. Yeah, I don't really like it because I don't think it's fair for everyone to get the same grade if they're not putting in the same amount of effort. But yeah, good class. A lot of reading, which, I mean, it's an English class, so that makes sense. I also took applied statistics. This was not an honors class. There was no way I was going to enroll in an honors level math class. I am not so much a math girly. I can do it. Math was like the main class in high school that I like got B's in. I mean, they were high B's, but I'm not really, it costs so much more effort, like English and psychology, history, even philosophy, like they come more easily to me than math does. I don't know, like once I get it, I got it, but then it's like kind of hard to get there. So anyway, I did well in that class. I got an A, and I was actually asked to be a statistics tutor, which I did for a month, but I was like, are you sure? And my teacher was like, well, it's not so much like your math skills, which I'm like, fair. She's like, it's just like your personality. And I'm like, well, thank you. So I did that for a month, but then it wasn't like, I wasn't in the library. I was a tutor for like people who didn't do well on the ACT, so like remediatory level math classes. And we were all just kind of housed in the same room instead of being at separate tables like they are in the library. So people would come in for help with college algebra, but I'm like, I haven't even taken that. Like, I don't know how to help you. So I felt very useless. The pay wasn't well. I was like barely working. So I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. But yeah, that's how stats was. Yeah, I'm glad I did not have to take another math class. Calculus, don't know her. Pre-calc even, Physics, that's like keeping me from applying to med school. Anyway, then I took Biology 1030/1, which is Exploring Life and Lab, which is basically biology for non-science majors. So, also, when I entered, I applied as a journalism major, but then I switched it to psychology because I was like, well, the reason I'm interested in journalism is like writing articles about psychology, but I'm like, and social sciences, but I'm like, a psychology researcher would be doing that, so I'll just do that instead. So Exploring Life and Lab, I got off track. That reminded me a lot of high school biology. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was good. It was an honors class, and it was an EXL class too. So we did like research project. It was about antibiotic producing soil in the Cedar Glades. Yeah. It was cool. I mean, it was a fun time collecting the soil. I don't really like the smell of bacteria. Don't really know anyone who does, which sucks because I'm taking microbiology in July. But yeah, that's how it was. I got an A in that. Spoiler alert, I get an A in every class. Yeah, graduated with a 4.0. So I'm just not going to say my grades for these classes because they're either pass out of a pass-fail or an A on like A, B, C, D, F. So never seen an F in my life. Maybe on like a chemistry quiz in high school, but anyway. Then I took Intro to Global Politics, which was really fun. I actually really liked it like took me a second. I thought I had said American first, and I was like, wrong class. Anyway, but Global Politics, my teacher made me cry on the first day, not because he was like mean, but because he told like a really sad story about his life, and I was like, oh, so that made me cry. Anyway, good class, learned something. I don't know. Even though my bachelor's was in political science, I'm not really a political science girly. I don't follow the news that much. I mean, I get emails from the New York Times, and I'm like, oh, and I scroll on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, but I don't know. It's not my fave. not my favorite thing. So I just, yeah, I don't know. And plus, like, before I graduated, my concentration was public policy and management. So what I was really interested in doing was, like, public administration and nonprofit management. And we'll get to that later. At this point, my major is still psychology, though. Speaking of, I also took social psychology, which was so fun, such a fun class. I did so well, literally so well in that. I think I got like 115 out of like 100 on a test once. It was pretty cool. So, I took that class, really enjoyed it. I liked my professor too. He was kind of older and not like the best with the technology, but he was like so excited about the material. He was like, okay. And I was like, yes. And everyone else was like, and I was like, y'all are lame. This man is passionate about what he's teaching. So I appreciate that. Anyway, so that was my first semester. Yeah, it was a good time. Second semester, that was fall of 2021. This is spring of 2022. Chemistry for consumers. That's the chemistry for non-science majors. Yeah, so I took that. The topic was the environment. I think there was more to it, but it was like basically like about the environment. So we learned about like waste management, water treatment, global warming. It was really fun. I made a PowerPoint for that class that I am still obsessed with to this day. It was about green urbanism, and I literally had so much fun doing that. It was an honors class. There were literally 7 of us in that class. I was obsessed. Yeah, it was great. The tests were open book, open note. I really enjoyed that class. There were some math things I was like, ooh. But other than that, it's like, it was a really interesting topic. So I really enjoyed it. Then I took developmental psychology. That was an honors level class. Yeah, it was fun just going through like, mostly for childhood, just like milestones and stuff, like when do they start talking, when do they start walking and crawling and all the reflexes, and then as you grow up, like the adolescent brain and like young adulthood, middle adulthood, or like, you know. So it was a good time. I learned that old people aren't really as sad as you would think, which sounds terrible. But that was like one of my big takeaways from that class. Then I took Intro to American Politics, and I had an amazing professor. I loved him. It was so great. That class also had like 20 people, which I appreciated. I think the biggest class I've taken this whole time was like social psychology, which that was like maybe like 60 people. But yeah. Intro to American Politics. That was also an EXL class. So yeah, we did something. I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it. Then I did seminar on careers in psychology, which is a 1 credit hour class. They ask you, they're like, what's like your dream career? Like, if you could do one thing, like, don't think about like paychecks, but like, if you could do one thing for the rest of your life, like, what would you do? And I was like, be a student. Literally, that's like the dream. Just like to be able to never stop learning. And it's like, I know you can still learn outside of college, but I really work best like with structure and routine. So really being a college student is like, this is like peak Adriana. Like having like all these classes is really just like, it's my thing. I excel at this, which isn't like meant to be braggy, but it's just like how my brain works. Yeah. And then I also took Survey of U.S. History 1, which was an honors class. Funny fact, my professor for that class was the father of someone I went to elementary school with, so that was interesting. But yeah, it was a lot of reading and writing. And again, lots of group projects. Did not appreciate that. Absolutely not. I think I like barely got an A in that class because, you know, I'm not even going to mention it, but let's just say people do better. Anyway. Ooh, this is an interesting one. I also took Elementary Japanese 1. So, yes, I took one semester of Japanese literally over 2 years ago. So a lot of that has left my brain. I think it's still in there somewhere. And if I were to like get back into it and be consistent with it, I could like get it back pretty fast. I was like reading and writing in hiragana and katakana. Imananji desu ka? What else? Nihonjin janai desu ka? What else? I was gonna say Je m'appelle Adriana, but that is French. So I'm gonna shut up now. But yeah, if y'all don't know, my stepmom is Japanese, so I wanted to take some Japanese, and I was doing great. But now that I'm not immersed in it, like 3 to 4 days a week, it's not really there anymore. At least not easy to recall. So I can still write my name in katakana, so that's good, I guess. Yeah, I took 17 credit hours that semester. It was insane. Literally insane. I was kind of thriving though. Not gonna lie, especially that summer. But that summer I took Religion and Society. I had enrolled in Religion and Society, which was a 3-week course, and the Bible, its origins and its context, which was a 5 or 6 week course, 5 or 6 weeks, but I was taking them at the same time. And Religion and Society was so good. It was great. It was easy. It was interesting. It was fun. It was great. The Bible, its origins and its context, though, one, it was a lot of work. To be doing 2 classes at the same time was a lot. 2 summer classes was intense. Also, the way she wanted us to read the Bible wasn't from like a Christian perspective. It was from like a scholarly perspective, but I can't really do that so well. Yeah, she was like, yeah, you have to read the books as like separate books, like as if they're not connected. And I'm like, but they're all connected. You can find references to other books like literally in every book of the Bible. Also, they may have been written by the same person, but they're all inspired by the Word of God. So I was like, can't really do that, sorry. So I dropped it on like day 2. But anyway, it worked out fine. So then the fall, the spring, I interviewed and joined Lambda Sigma, which is an honor society, but only for sophomores. And I got elected community service chair. So I was not enrolled in that. I was in that position from like April 2022 to March 2023. I'll talk about it real quick. I did a lot of stuff. I did a food drive with Feed America First, a clothing drive with Amelia's Closet, a toy drive with Make-A-Wish, a Valentine's making station for the American Heart Association, a bake sale for... Who was the bake sale for? I don't remember. But we also did a granola sale with Pizza for Us and Blue Monarch. It was a really good time. I love that. I love planning things, clearly. Like, I love organization, and I love just doing good work for the community. So, it was a really great position for me, but it kind of sucked because I'm like, I have to be careful. There were other positions on the executive board that, like, didn't really do anything, and they had like higher positions than me, and I felt like they were getting to put that and all of the group's achievements on their resume, even though they didn't really do anything to earn it. Also, we wrote letters to veterans on Veterans Day, and we wrote notes to seniors for Valentine's Day. all my ideas. Sorry. And it just kind of sucked because I was carrying the weight by myself, which I enjoyed because I enjoy doing it myself, but then other people were trying to interfere with that sometimes. And it felt like I was doing all the work and getting none of the credit. So it felt like I was running the whole thing, honestly. So I dropped the position like a month before I was supposed to like end my term, just because it was a lot and it was overwhelming, and I had already done a lot of good stuff. And there was also a whole thing with like, we were going to partner with a fraternity because I wanted to do a bone marrow like registrations, donor sign up. And that turned out to be one of the philanthropies for a fraternity on campus. So we were going to kind of partner up with that, but they literally took it all over, even though it was my idea and I was the one who reached out to the organization. So it sucked. Yeah, there were just a lot of things that was like, but you know, I did it. I got my certificate and my cord, so I don't really care. But it was a good learning experience, I suppose. I learned I'm not very good at delegating tasks. But, you know, it's just because I'm afraid everyone else is going to do it wrong, which they usually do. So, yeah, going into the fall, this is when I joined my sorority. So first year of college, I was not in a sorority. I had a friend who was, but I was also 16, turning 17 first year of college. So I didn't even know if I was allowed to join a sorority. Yeah, I honestly don't know if I would have been allowed in if I had tried to rush my first year. Probably not. Oh my gosh, I need to stop laughing so much. Anyway, oh, that was funny. So much. Anyway, so I joined Kappa Delta AOT. Anyway, so I joined, and yeah, I joined in the fall, and I got elected at the end of the fall semester in December to be Director of Philanthropy and Community Service, but we'll talk about that during spring 23 because that's when I did most of my things. So fall, I turned 17 turning 18 September 25th. So I was like, oh no, there's a wasp on my porch. Ugh. So I turned 18 and I was like, what can I do? What can I do now? I can get tattoos in the state of Tennessee, which I took advantage of. I could become a phlebotomist. Ooh. Or I could become an EMT. And I decided to become an EMT because I've always been interested in medical stuff. The reason I was interested in psychology besides research was also like psychiatry. Didn't honestly like being 100% like dead blank. I did not know you needed to go to medical school to become a psychiatrist until my freshman year of college. I just didn't know. But you do. So, yeah, that was a thing. But I just, you know, like I said before, math, even science at that time were really not my thing. I was like, ooh, but I'm interested in like medical stuff and the human body. So I was like, let's do EMT. I was 18, so I was finally able to. And MTSU had an EMS program, which I didn't even know about because they never advertised. So I was like, let's do it. So I signed up for that. That didn't start until November of 2022. So going back to August of 2022, the classes I took fall of 2022 for a total of 13 credit hours. It was originally 16, but I will tell you why it was only 13 at the end. So it was University Honors Lecture Series, which is a 1 credit hour class to fulfill like my honors minor. The topic was friendship. I got to pet horses, so that was fun. Fundamentals of communication. Oh, also University Honors Lecture Series was EXL, which, EXL is experiential learning, and I am an EXL scholar, so fun. Anyway, so fundamentals of communication, basically speech. I slayed that class so hard. I gave a introductory speech about myself. I gave an argumentative speech about why everyone should be CPR certified. And I also did a commemorative speech on Brian K. Lee Lasley, which was inspired by my favorite true crime podcast, Murder with My Husband. So that was great. It was wonderful. I slayed so hard. Anyway, I love speech. I love public speaking. Yeah, I love being on a stage, having an audience. It's the theater kid in me. Anyway, then this is where it gets fun. So I also took abnormal psychology, and I did that as an honors contract. So basically, for the honors minor, you need to have a certain number of honors lower division and upper division classes. But a lot of like classes aren't offered as honors. Like, they don't offer honors sections for like upper division classes. So I did the honors contract, which basically you have to like work together with your teacher to come up with a plan where you do like X amount of extra work, and they're like, yeah, that's like honors level amount of work. So then you get honors credit for that class, but you're doing more work than everyone else in the classes. So, I mean, I guess unless someone else was doing an honors contract, but I was the only one. So I worked with my professor who ended up becoming my thesis director the next year. I love her. So she worked with me, and it was abnormal psychology, and I was like, I'm interested in so many of these disorders. I have no idea what I'm even gonna like pick to talk about, to write about. So we decided that I would do a in-class presentation like at the end of the semester, basically like take over the class on the day she was going to talk about my topic. So that was really fun. Again, I love public speaking, giving presentations, putting together PowerPoints. So it was great. So I did that, and then I also did a literature review for my topic, and my topic, drumroll please, was genitopelvic pain and penetration disorders. So yeah, you're like, how is that abnormal psychology? But it was in there, so I picked it. It was like at the very end. So some genitopelvic pain and penetration disorders are vulvodynia, vaginismus. What else? There's also dyspareunia. One that's kind of related but not exactly under this category is like pelvic floor dysfunction. I have pelvic floor dysfunction and vulvodynia, so I was very interested in this topic, and I was like, I want to talk about this. I want to like inform about this, share my personal experience. So one moment please. I did it. I did my in-class presentation. I did my literature review, which with like ended up being like 22 pages long maybe, which was way longer than it needed to be. But honestly, it was just such a passion project, and it was so fun. And the next semester I was able to enter a poster for it for Scholars Week, which is a university-wide research exposition, and then for the Middle Tennessee Psychological Association, which is where students can submit and you're like automatically accepted, and you can just present your research, and it's students only, so it was great. I don't know if I want to unroll it just because like I'm moving next week, but it's like it was so fun and so exciting and just so great to talk about. It was really funny talking to Dean Vile about it, because it's like, oh, but when I had my poster up, if you've seen it, you would understand why a lot of people were like, when they saw it, because it's like slightly graphic, I would say. Like I have vaginal dilators on there, which look like dildos. I have like a drawing diagram of the female reproductive system. So a lot of people passing by avoided eye contact with me at these presentations. At Scholars Week, the audience at MTPA was a lot more receptive to it though, which is great. Love my psychology people. But yeah, that was just, I light up when I talk about it because I loved it. It was so great. Yeah, it was so fun. So then I also took political campaign management, which was an EXL class, and it was so fun. I got to be a not presidential, congressional candidate, and we had 4 or 5 candidates in the class, and then other students were like on their teams. My name was Olivia Smith, and I was part of the American Solidarity Party, which is a Christian, democratic, pro-life, pro-environment, anti-death penalty, pro-immigration group, which is like pretty much exactly what my politics are in real life. So it was a really great experience. It was so fun. Yeah, it was great. We got to make like campaign ads, like positive ones for us, negative ones for our opponents. We got to make like brochures. We had a debate, and a journalism class intersected with us, and they like wrote about the debate. Yeah, it was a good time. So it was fun. What else? Oh yeah, I also took public management, which, yeah, it was interesting. Again, it was cool. At that time, I was starting my EMT stuff, so I was like slowly shifting away from interest in political science. So, I mean, it was okay. It was a lot of reading, actually. Not gonna lie. So that's the end of fall. During that time, though, before my EMT class, I not only became CPR certified, I also became certified in naloxone administration and overdose prevention. So I did that, and it was our regional overdose prevention specialist. He actually isn't in that position anymore, but his name was Michael Baer, and he did the presentation at MTSU, and at the end he like put up a bunch of resources, and I was like, oh, what is this? Because I was looking for a nonprofit to do a nonprofit internship with. And one of the organizations was the Prevention Coalition for Success. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of this. What is this? And it is Rutherford County's Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, which is a mouthful, but I've gotten so used to saying it because I ended up interning for them. So I did like 1 or 2 days in December, but I like really started hardcore spring 2023. And that was such a great experience. We did so many things, tabled at the community baby shower, did drug take back. I made so many Instagram posts and like a couple brochures, and we just tabled at so many events and got to talk about like all the resources available. I got to meet so many people, and it was a really great time, and I'm so thankful for that entire organization, my 3 ladies. So it was a really good time. And yeah, at the same time though, I was doing my EMT program and really getting into it, because it was from November 22 to June 23. Y'all, this class, there was a girl the first day of class who said to me, oh yeah, this is like, I'm retaking this class, like, and she said something that like really intimidated me. She's like, be prepared to cry or something like that. And I was like, oh, but I ended up loving that class, fell in love with it, had so much fun on my clinicals. I had someone who shot himself in the foot on accident, and someone who like scraped his leg with like putting together a motorcycle he bought on Amazon. It was just so great. And I was doing my internship at the same time, and I was like, I love the work we're doing to help the community, but I love how hands-on this EMT stuff is. And it's just, that's when I started falling in love with the human body. And I'm like, okay, I knew it was cool before, but now that I know so much more about it, it is just so fascinating. It's my favorite thing in the world. I could talk about it forever. Yeah, it's just, like, and what really cemented it for me, March of 22, I got to go to a cadaver lab for free. Slay. So I got to go to a cadaver lab, and wow, one of the cadavers had their chest wall open. Their chest wall was open, and it was way out of my scope. I wasn't even an EMT yet, but I got to intubate that cadaver. And when I did, and I started bagging them, I got to see their lungs inflate. Like, I got to see the inside of the human body. And that was like the coolest, probably, yeah, the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. I also got to do a humeral IO, which is within my scope now, but it wasn't then. But I got to do a humeral IO, and we got to see the subclavian inflate, and it was just so cool. And it's just so fascinating, and I could talk about what makes a human body cool forever. But yeah, it was really challenging. That was the hardest thing I'd ever done at that point, like academically, because it was all brand new to me. And it was intense, and I studied so hard. And I passed the registry on my first try. Yay! So that was great. But while I was doing that, the bulk of that work, I was also enrolled still at MTSU full time. And I was taking 16 credit hours. So while I was doing my EMT stuff, and my clinicals for that, everything, I was also taking psychosexual adjustment, which was an accelerated course, so it was only the first half of the semester. It was online, very interesting. Again, got to talk about my genitopelvic pain penetration disorders. I also took political science and international relations as a profession, because at this point I changed to a psychology and political science double major. So I took that. Yeah, I was really shifting away from all the political science stuff at this point, so So I also did my internship with PC4S, which counted for credit, thankfully. Then I also did group dynamics, which was a psychology class, and it was really fun. It was a blended class, so part online, part in person. Unfortunately, but as the name implies, there was a lot of group work, and it was okay. I had the same professor I had for social psychology, so I had him again, which was terrific because I really enjoyed his class. I also took urban and regional planning, which was also a blended class. Really enjoyed that. How was that not an EXL class? Because we literally went on a field trip, but it was really fun. We visited West Haven and Franklin. We got to go to planning commission meetings. This had to have been EXL. I might have put it on here wrong, but it was great. It was super fun. And yeah, it was a really good time. Always interesting. Great professor, great classmates. And I also finally took alternative dispute resolution. So we did, this was definitely EXL. We did simulations for arbitration, mediation, what else? I don't know, but it was good. So it was a fun time. Then that summer, yes, I finished my EMT program, and you know what I did? I took Intro to Theater. I took Intro to Theater for a gen ed. I took that online during the summer. It was kind of a blast. I got to watch a lot of plays and talk about my favorite musicals, so it was a good time. I took theater in high school too, so a lot of it was like repeat, like a thrust stage, what's a catwalk, so it was pretty easy. That summer I took 7 credit hours. Theater was only 3. What's the other 4? That makes it 7. I'm glad you asked. It was Human Anatomy and Physiology 1! Oh my gosh. Y'all. This was a 5-week course. And guess what? My professor was British. It was great. I loved listening to his voice. I loved learning the material. And this was even harder than my EMT class, but it was so, oh my gosh, so amazing. What I love about science, which is insane, I never would have said that like 4 years ago, but what I love about science is I have these moments where I'm in class and he'll say something and there's something else already in my brain, and the way they work together just kind of clicks, and it's like magic. it is the best feeling in the world. Like, understanding why these certain type of cells in the lungs and other parts of the body, like the reproductive tract, why that causes cystic fibrosis and why some of them have infertility, and just having all of that knowledge just like come together, and it's like, it makes sense. And it's just like putting together pieces of a puzzle. And that's kind of how I felt like these past couple weeks, which we'll get to with another science class I'm taking. So it's so fascinating and I love it. But yeah, anatomy was the best thing ever. I did amazing in that class because it's a summer class, and I rock summer classes because I only have to focus on one thing at a time, and I get to hyper focus on it and kill it and demolish it and do amazing at it. It's pretty great. So I said I was going to talk about my experience as director of philanthropy and community service. So I did do that for one semester, and I ended up having to stop just because I knew I was going to be so busy in the fall, and I just couldn't do it, and I didn't want to not give that position as much as my VP deserved me to deserved. Yeah. So I did that. We did confidence days with the Girl Scouts, hosted them to sell cookies, so it was a fun time. We also did a needs list drive for the Family Center, which is one of our philanthropies, so it was a good time. Then comes August of 2023, the fall semester. I start my advanced EMT program, and it was a great time. We got to do IVs and so many medications. Y'all would not believe what I can give. It's crazy. Fentanyl, ketamine, Dilaudid, morphine? What? Me? Really? But yeah, it's just so cool. It's so cool. And I love it. And it intersected so well with the anatomy I was taking at the time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just learned about this, and now we're learning about it here. Crazy. So yeah, it was just, science. It's so cool. Yeah, so I was doing my EMT program. That was from August 23 to February 24. So the fall semester at MTSU, I took 17 credit hours. That semester almost killed me, but it's okay because we're here. We made it. So I took Human Anatomy and Physiology 2. I bombed our first exam because I was not prepared for the way my professor gave those exams, but luckily he dropped the lowest exam grade. Y'all, I really needed that because I got an A in this class, but barely. I am convinced I barely got an A. Yeah, it was crazy, but it was very interesting. A lot of my favorite body systems are in A&P2, or organ systems, so it was a fun time. Yeah, it was really hard though. It was even harder than EMT Basic, A&P1, and honestly my advanced EMT class. A&P2 was rough. But yeah, I also did my honors thesis tutorial, and surprise, surprise, it has to do with emergency medicine, or medicine in general. So I did, get ready for this, it was called Unsparingly, a podcast exploring the mental health of medical professionals working in an acute care setting before, during, and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Y'all, it's a mouthful, but it was a fun time. So I started working on that July of 23, which is insane because I thought I wasn't graduating until August of 2024. Newsflash, I was wrong. I ended up graduating May of 24, and I didn't know that until July of 23, so I was like, oh shoot, I gotta get started on this. So I ended up doing a creative project instead of a research project, which honestly I think was just as much work. But it was a really good time, and I'm so grateful that my honors contract advisor was willing to take me on as a thesis student. Literally without her, I have no idea if I would have been able to do that. So thank you so much. It was great. Thanks for taking a chance on me. Yay. So I did that. Well, I did my proposal that semester. I also, oh God, y'all, I also took classical political theory. Oh my gosh. That class was literally just all philosophy. And let me tell you something. Me and philosophy, we don't really vibe that well. We really don't. I do not like the fact that you don't think that's actually a tree outside. That's just an imperfect imitation of a tree. And that no one can actually really know what a tree actually looks like. We can only just kind of get close to it, kind of see like the edges of it, but only if you're a philosopher. And I think it's very pretentious and annoying and gross, and I hate it. And it doesn't work well with my brain, actually. I feel like something changed in my brain, or maybe it was like unlocked or something, because now, it didn't used to be this way, it used to be the opposite. Now, philosophy and stuff is just mind-boggling to me. And I'm like, how can you even think that? It just does not compute, it does not make sense, it's ridiculous. And now science is like, oh yes, but it used to be the other way around. So I don't know what happened. I really don't. It's a very interesting change. Like complete switcheroo. Complete 180. Very strange. But I dreaded that class. My professor was great. I actually got to write an essay about the Hunger Games. So it was good on that part. But, and I did really well on the test. But I did not enjoy sitting through that class. It was not my thing. I'm sorry. I do not like Socrates. I really don't. I don't like Plato. There was a guy in class who compared himself to Socrates and Kanye West, and I was like, no, that's not a good thing. But, he was also in the other class I took, which was global issues and human trafficking. Yeah. That was so fun. I had a great professor for that who ended up being my professor for senior seminar the next semester. It was just very interesting. I got to make a pamphlet. We watched movies, which sounds kind of insensitive, but it was all in good taste. It was a really good class. We had some speakers come in. It was a good time. The other 6 credit hours were my public service internship with Rutherford County, which they don't even know that I had, honestly. I just got my program coordinator through MTSU to sign off saying I did my clinicals, so Rutherford County didn't know that I was getting academic credit for it. Sorry, they're my employer now. I love you guys. Don't fire me. Anyway, so that's the fall, which, oh my gosh, y'all, I don't even know how much of this I can say, but fall was also, my hair kind of looks good right now. Anyway, fall was my first time and only time, thank God, literally, hallelujah, praise the Lord, my first and only time being on the sorority side of formal recruitment. Y'all, I had to drive a friend to the ER for dehydration because she could not stay standing. We did not get fed. We did not get water. We got Alani's. I don't drink Alani's. We shouldn't be drinking Alani's. We stayed awake for so long, on our feet for so long, singing, clapping, chanting, mingling. Y'all. If it weren't for my friends being there, I would say that was the worst weekend of my life. That was traumatic, like physically, mentally, and emotionally. Not a good experience. I can't talk like a lot of details because it's like hush hush, like some of it like ritual stuff. But it was not a good time. It was not. But you know what was a good time? taking intro to biopsychology in the winter. It was a 3-week online class, and it was such a good thing. It was the perfect blend of psychology and anatomy, and it was perfect, and I loved it, and it was great. Excuse me, kind of made me want to take behavioral neuroscience, but I do not have time for that, so that's unfortunate, but simply a fact. Then in the spring, my last semester at 19 years old, I took senior seminar, which was a fun time. We did 2 group projects. I'm not going to speak on that, but anyway. I will speak on my amazing PowerPoint skills, though. You need a PowerPoint? You let me know. I have Canva Pro. That rhymed. I'm so proud of myself. Anyway, I also did the experiential learning seminar so I could get my EXL Scholar distinction. That was just an online thing. We did an e-portfolio. It was cool. Then I did research methods in political science. That class was very confusing. The instructions were not done very well. It was online. I know a lot of people struggled in that class, not because it was hard, but because a lot of things weren't very clear. But, it's fine. It's over now. Oh God. We'll come back to that. I also did my honors thesis. I presented my research at MTPA again, Scholars Week again, and I also traveled to LMU Harrogate to present at the Tennessee Collegiate Honors Council Conference, and it was a really good time. It was so fun. I had a great time. I went with a friend who had also just graduated from my advanced EMT program with me. We had our final practical Friday, and then for the whole day pretty much, and then drove to Harrogate 4 hours, and then had our conference the next day, and then drove back together, and it was great. It was, whoa, what an adventure. So we did that. I'm so proud of my thesis. I love it. I can't wait to see it in all of its beauty. It is 160 pages. I can't wait to hold her. She's going to be like a textbook. I'm so excited. Then I barely got college credit for U.S. History 2 through the CLEP exam. I think you needed a 50 on it, and I got a 61, maybe? I don't know. I barely made it, but I did it. And I only studied for a week. It was insane. If y'all had seen those whiteboards, I literally purchased my own whiteboards, if you can see, so I could study from home. It was crazy. It was crazy. But I did it. Look at what this mind is capable of. Then the last thing, the thing I said we would come back to, intro to philosophy. Honors. Oh boy. I don't want to speak badly about a professor because I still go to this school, but this man made me cry. He made me almost stop coming to that class with a month left. If I wasn't such a good student, I would not have attended the last month of his classes. Oh boy. That's all I'll say. Lock it, throw away the key. I've already vented about it too much to my small groups and on Instagram, so there you have it. Yeah, there you have it. My college experience. Those are the classes I took. Probably no one cares about this but me, but I want to be able to look back on this in the future, so hee. I graduated at 19 years old with 3 medals, 6 stoles, 9 chords, honors distinction, EXL scholar distinction, summa cum laude, at 19 years old. And as an advanced EMT working for County EMS 911. Slay! Anyway, haha. Oh, I'm so happy. I love school. So grateful for it. And right now, tomorrow, I have my last day of a 3-week Gen Chem 1 course because I'm applying to PA school next year. Yay! Yay, science! Not math, but yay, science! Which chemistry is a lot of math. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We're doing better at it. So, yeah. I'm taking micro at the end of the summer. I'm taking Gen Chem 2, Gen Bio 1, and medical vocabulary in the fall. In the spring, I'm taking Organic 1, Gen Bio 2. Then in the summer, I'm taking Genetics and Organic 2. And then in the fall, I'll take Biochem. And in the spring, if I'm not already starting PA school, which depends on the program I get into, I'll take Human Pathophysiology. I would rather take that and Anatomy and Physiology like 1,000 times over than take like Chemistry and Organic Chemistry, but we're doing it. My average in lab is a 98. My average on the test are a 96. So we're slaying it. Even though it's harder than other things, we're getting through it because this is important to me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If anyone watched it, I don't even know if I'll upload it, but yay. Goodbye.